Hello, Lucknow, India. My name is Blak Dayz. Welcome to Hackers Day. I am a senior security consultant in Austin, Texas, where I live with my beautiful wife and 2 children. I am also very heavily involved in the security community here in the United States, as well as in the research community here in the United States. I started in this, information security world when I was a kid. I was a phone freak, used to hang out on different voice bridges, perform various childhood, shenanigans, if you will. Back whenever I started, hacking was a term that was looked down on. It was something that no one wanted to openly say. In fact, the director of the FBI at the time, Louis Freeh, wanted to criminalize the free sharing of information between information security professionals at the time. Of course, the community wasn't as evolved. We were still regarded as criminals for the most part. That started to fade away. And now it's taken roughly about 20 years to kind of remove that that aura of criminality away from the term hacker. Hacking isn't breaking into somewhere. It can be, but as a whole, hacking is simply removing the inefficiencies and the insecurities in a system and improving upon that system. For instance, hard drives don't naturally get faster. Somebody hacks away the inefficiencies and achieves a faster result. Processors don't naturally get faster. TVs don't naturally get larger. These are all people removing and hacking away from the inefficiencies that restrict a system. It's also used to talk about those who can interfere with the system in such a way that they can make the system perform whatever action they wish or that they intend without abrupting the functioning of the entire system. A lot of times that portion of hacking is what people are addressing whenever they speak about criminal actions that occur with a computer. That's not necessarily true at premise. The concept that hacking is criminal has led to quite a few things. But back whenever I started, that was the only real regard for the term hacker. I found a home with other hackers in the DEF CON community. DEF CON was a party being thrown as a going away party for a BBS member, for one of my friends, Jeff. It has evolved into one of the more preeminent computer security conferences, but it's still really a party, and it's really something that everybody looks forward to every year, not because of all the awesome stuff they're going to learn or find out, but because they get to see their friends. The element of cohesion and group cohesion within the DEF CON community is very high. There are factions, just like any other community, and sometimes they don't all get along. But in the end, it provided a safe space for me to go and indulge myself in the things that I liked with other people who also liked those things. It fostered a free and open communication environment for all the individuals to share and to learn others' information. That's really the entire point, is the free sharing of information. As part of that, I continued along in the DEF CON community and ended up organizing the DEF CON Groups program for a number of years. The DEF CON Groups are small collectives of individuals, regionally associated, who get together once a month for free at some venue where they discuss their latest research, or they drink or eat with one another and just have a good time. They give presentations, they give training and instruction to other people. Some people it's hardware hacking, car hacking, some people it's exploit development. The element that I was most interested in was in fostering as many of those communities as possible. And in India, there is a upswing of DEF CON communities. That's how I came to meet Nitin. Nitin, for the time, organized DEF CON Blak Now, which was the basis for your Hackers Day. And in doing so, he did exactly what the program was intended to do. He got people together to openly share information with one another in a setting that fostered that action. And, well, here we are today. Also at DEF CON, I work in organizing the security element of DEF CON. I'm a DEF CON goon, a security goon. And as part of that, you get to see a different aspect, the real world hard work that goes into throwing such a large conference. And I really want to thank Nitin and the crew for throwing Hackers Day and the hard work that they put into it. Hacker cohesion is especially important in today's world. We're entering a period where hacking is becoming once again demonized. And as part of that demonization, there are real-world agreements, acts, and laws being put into place that not only harm the hacker collective, but harm society as a whole. We'll get a little bit more into that later on. But it's important to have cons like Hackers Day to facilitate the free flow of information between one another, whether it's new vulnerabilities, whether it's technical training, or whether it's just getting together to sit and drink. You know, I often say, real hackers aren't the ones you read about. You always hear that. Everybody wants to be friends with or to talk to somebody who's at celebrity status, if you will, in the hacker community. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely fine as far as ambitions go. However, the focus on that sometimes makes people forget what real hackers are. Real hackers aren't the ones you read about. They're the ones sitting next to you. Look left and look right. They're the ones that you eat with. Real hackers are the ones you drink with. Those are the ones that matter. And today, a consortium of you all have come together to listen to this message. So I raise a drink to you, and I hope you all have a cold drink nearby, and will agree in having a toast to hackers, to Nitin and his crew, and to all the attendees of Hackers Day. Just remember that these are the real hackers. Hacking and the art of hacking is something that can be easily transferred from one another. And yes, conferences are great environments for doing that, but there's also an aspect to hacking that we've recently seen with different types of technologies, such as renewable energy, different types of modes of transportation, autonomous driving systems, things that solve real-world problems, things that can help increase the stability of society and help to drive society upwards in the quality of life index. Focusing solely on simply vulnerabilities would be a terrible waste of the community that you all are building. Critical systems are obviously a topic today. And yes, the protection of those is necessary. But having hackers come together and think about other types of problems often has great benefit. So I urge you, as you go throughout your conference, to take a look at the techniques and the types of things that you're seeing being used, the methodologies, to come about with good research output, and apply those methodologies to your community, to your local area. Hack the system that you're in, and come together with your friends to think about any of the problems that you're facing in Lucknow or abroad, and come together and try to figure out what's the best way to solve it. It doesn't mean that you come together to think about breaking into somewhere. That's not at all what I'm saying. What the intent is for you to take a challenge within a system that you live in and manipulate that system to solve that challenge in such a way that you have positive social change. That should be something to consider as you go throughout Hackers Day. Now, there are some real world events going on. I guess the topic today is what the media calls hacking of the US elections. Let me be very clear. There was no hacking of the United States election. There was no hacking of the United States electoral system. There was no hacking of voter machines. There was no compromise of any of those items. Was that the Democratic National Committee and John Podesta, two private parties, had information leaked. John Podesta had his emails leaked, and the DNC had some emails leaked, but primarily a lot of financial donor information, things that showed a level of corruption between the heads of the DNC and our media, and collusion on skewing polls, amongst other things. So what was exposed was corruption, and that did influence public perception. However, there is no evidence whatsoever that our electoral system was compromised at all. That brings us into attribution, the hot topic of the day. Attribution is near pointless. The United States Department of Homeland Security and FBI issued a joint release, a report called the JAR report, and in it outlines a certain level of, general guidelines for security. It issued some IOCs for some web shells, amongst other things, and a list of IP addresses. The problem is that web shell, PAS, is available for free, publicly. You can go to websites, generate your own PAS web shell. It was developed by some Ukrainians, not by Moscow or the GRU. And it's used all over the place. You'll find this type of web shell if you work in incident response all over the place. It does not mean that the Russian government or any official entity compromised you or the system you're looking at. The other information, such as some of the IP addresses, are IP addresses to places like Yahoo, Tor exit nodes, things that are entirely unattributable. And yet, our media and our powers that be, our political powers, are attempting to drive a narrative that another country interfered to the point that their preferred candidate was elected. And currently we have no evidence to that. But the attribution portion and the whole demonizing of hackers in this effort has damaged the information security community. It's also pushed different types of legislation and international agreements up to the front, where the Wassenaar Agreement is now being talked about at an even faster rate to help control such, just the same as international arms deals, the spread of information between researchers and the public at large, or between researchers themselves. This criminalization of hacking is, well, it's chilling, quite frankly. The effects that even talking about criminalizing what you are all going to do here today, which is share information, exploits, and techniques for intrusion. You're going to share this information with one another, and that will be criminalized under a lot of the agreements and elements of the agreements that are being put forth. So it's very important that we try to push back against those who, without any knowledge of what hacking is, use it as a term that is interchangeable with criminal. It's not. So you must be politically active, and I hope that India stays off of the Wassenaar Agreement. But if they do, you need to, as much as you can, attempt to contact all of your politicians and anybody who would be the signing parties, and let them know that they're going to make people who are not criminals, good-hearted people looking to protect and looking to work, criminals by signing on to it. In the US, we face our own current draconian laws with regard to hacking. We have the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which effectively allows corporations to determine at which point you committed a felony that is punishable by serious jail sentences, and has resulted in lengthy jail sentences and even death for some of our greater minds. Aaron Schwartz killed himself after he was looking at the maximum penalty. I think it was 20 or so years that they were looking at penalizing him for taking open source books off of a computer network. These sorts of applications are draconian in principle, and they will only continue to get tighter and tighter the more public rhetoric and the more attribution goes out in the public realm. They begin to think that these laws will prevent criminals from performing crimes with computers. It's ineffective. A criminal is a criminal. Whether they use a computer or a gun, it does not make them any less criminal. There's a bad trend going on, and the UK just passed some laws, but here in the US as well, where they're talking about key escrow encryption, where the government always has a back door built into the crypto system so that it can, at will, decrypt other information. We know from the Snowden leaks that the National Security Agency in America has a vast apparatus for nearly instantaneous decryption of the most popular protocols that we currently use. Quantum computing and advancements in it mean that a functioning quantum computer could essentially decrypt modern linear encryption, public key encryption, public key cryptography, elliptical curve encryption. All of those things fall once quantum computing becomes involved. And while we face those technical challenges, we do not look to have a government be able to see all of our secrets. In America, we have the right to privacy and the right to communicate with one another in private without the government intruding upon it. In the UK, they passed the Snoopers laws, which present a huge dilemma to security researchers looking to securely talk about vulnerabilities between one another, because now the government can easily pick up on what those vulnerabilities are and use them at will. It can steal the private information from the market if it controls the communication systems that the researchers are speaking on. And if it can decrypt those communications, those secure communications, then all of the research would be in the government's hands. It's a power play, and it's something you have to fight against. Any chance you get in every turn, do not allow governments to enhance surveillance or backdoor encryption laws on the people. Share information freely. What that means is if you know something and it's topical, share it. If you don't understand something, ask. Be a teacher or be a student, but you got to be in the classroom. And in order to promote an environment where that free information sharing occurs, be kind to one another. You know, we have a saying, don't be a dick. That's pretty much the cardinal rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, if you will. In your community, you have to be a community. You will have disagreements, you will have problems with one another, but in the end, you should work through those to keep a positive environment for the free sharing of information. Fostering that positive environment gets you to places like today, where you can openly go to a conference center and learn about the latest developments in your community with regards to security research. You know, it's a very impressive thing to have conferences organized and thrown where individuals are able to share their research, their hard work, all of their labor with their peers and undergo those peers' reviews. There is one note with regard to the peer review process, is when you develop something and you claim it to be unhackable, you must absolutely reveal the source code, the binaries, and every piece of it to the public. Nothing is secure that is a black box. They'll always fail. Somebody will find out how to break it, or that it was actually insecure behind the scenes. So on that note, the snake oil claims to something being unhackable, that's fine. But I'd like to go ahead and call it out and say, lay out the binaries, give us the ISOs, the install CDs, let us take a look at the operating system so that we can fuzz those binaries. We can look to see how it's operating. If it's a new type of processor architecture, or if you're using some type of exploit mitigation techniques to prevent common exploitable vulnerabilities, buffer overflows, things of that nature. So with that being said, it's always fun to present a challenge to the community. And my challenge to you today is to have an awesome Hackers Day. I think Nitin and his crew, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.